Today, I've come to look at the most perfect long barrow in Britain. And we go from here off this way on up the field. In the field, I take this path here, which is parallel with the Willow Brook. And looking around the hills, you can see it's a wonderful position. One word of warning, the drive down here is really narrow and really horrible. So walking by the side of the Willow Brook here, it's more like a river than a brook, I must admit. I've come here for the first time ever. I've never been here before, and I've been really looking forward to it because it is supposed to be the most perfect long barrow in Britain. And we'll see if it lives up to its reputation, because you never know. Got me wellies on today, so I'm well prepared. Couldn't wear the walking boots, it was a bit boggy in areas, so went with the wellies. You notice these concrete structures here, put as tank defences, I think, in World War II, and over in the distance is a pillbox, and this was all part of a defensive line. And if you go to Walking Wild, my friend Andrew, he will educate you about that if you want to know about it. Absolutely fantastic stuff. And already I get a feeling for the landscape, which is quite impressive in this area. And I think we take this worn trail we can see in front of us here. Well, I've come to Stoney Littleton, Long Barrow. And as with many of these places, I can see a hawk flying there. And that seems to be a typical thing with most of the ancient sites I come to. Whether they like the impressions on the ground or the hills, who knows? But they certainly do like it in these areas. And you can see why this landscape was so attractive to Neolithic man. Look at the perfect soil there from the molehill. And then walking up this way, and there it is coming into sight. Truly a spectacular sight on a day like today, to see this wonderful long barrow. So looking at the long barrow, trapezial in shape as they all are, absolutely fantastic, using the local stone, and in Somerset. And we all inclined to think, when we think of long barrows, of being in Wiltshire. But I'm inclined to think that the way that people came into this area could have come via the Bristol Channel, could have come lots of different ways. But just incredible to be here and see this, and to think the thousands of years that this has been here in one shape or another. Okay, it's been raided and that at times, but nonetheless, what hasn't? The pyramids have been raided, haven't they? Grave robbers over the years. There we are. So in 1760, a farmer took a lot of stone from here. It was raided by local people in general, and even the local blacksmith had a skull in his workshop that came from here. So it's quite incredible to think that it was just used as a raiding ground and used for stone and anything that they could get, really. And I expect there were some Celtic offerings that went down in there as well. And then it was inspected by Sir Richard Colt-Hoare, and Richard and a colleague decided that they would save this, and it was one of the first antiquities that had been saved. And when they actually entered it, they entered in through the ceiling, as there was not a doorway here in place at the time. And Richard did some drawings as well. I'll put on the usual What Three Words location, although you'll be able to find it very easily. So I've brought a torch, so I think we'll go in and have a look. And everybody mentions the ammonite in here. We'll have a look for that on the way back by the doorway. But let's just have a look inside and see what we think, I think. So we've got chambers that go off. It's very low, and you can see how narrow it is, and now you've got to squeeze around, and the height of it being so low as well. We have a central corridor which goes down. I'll put a diagram on of that. Another chamber off to this side here, and another chamber off to give the glare of the light this side here. And these all had remains that were placed in them. You can see the height is very restricted indeed. Well, looking at it, nearly there now. I should be able to stand in a minute, because it'd be a shame to come all this way and not go right the way to the bottom. And the ceiling looks a touch higher here, with a stone missing on the top where Richard Colt-Hoare may have come through into this. And off down in another chamber off here with these two chambers. One, oh, let's hold the light up a bit further there, and scanning around. One here as well, which takes us down to the, turning around now, the very last chamber here. So I'm now sat down in the bottom of the Long Barrow in the final chamber, and it does feel totally different after crawling through on my hands and knees. Not good, because I had a back injury recently, but it certainly is a magnificent barrow in every way. Absolutely unbelievable to come to these places, crawl your way through and get in touch with our Neolithic ancestors. And obviously I'm a live body in where there would have been bones, and they would have started off by putting bones at the top, presumably, a bit like West Kennet, and as they decomposed, moving them to the bottom of the barrow and moving their way forward until they were full up. The barrow itself was absolutely raided for stone and all sorts, but then rebuilt, and one of our first historic monuments to be rebuilt and actually looked after. So amazing to come here, and I can't believe it's just down the road from me, down a very twisty, horrible drive. But nonetheless, I've never been, so it's a great place to come. And I think I'll move forward back up to the barrow and get out, because I don't want to get stuck in here with my bad back. That would be bad. But it certainly has a different feeling to West Kennet. It's got more of a homely feel to it in a strange way. Or perhaps that's just because I'm getting older, I don't know. So we'll carry on out of here and then have a little think about the differences between this and other barrows that we see and why it's regarded as the most perfect long barrow in Britain. Not looking forward to my way crawling out, but we'll give it a try and see how we get on. And by the pillar to the door here is the ammonite that everybody says to look at here, which you can see just here. Put my hands on it. And they regarded that as a snake years ago, back in Celtic times. So looking at the long barrow from this direction here, looking towards the west, do I consider it to be the best preserved long barrow in Britain? Well, I don't think I've seen enough to say, but I think yes, probably it is. A fantastic place to come, a wonderful thing to look at, and history really doesn't get much better than this. To think that this was built over 3,500 BC, 5,500 years ago, round about the same time as West Kennet Long Barrow. So they have a lot of similarities because they're both long barrows. They were used as a meeting place, a worship place, and somewhere to leave the dead. I'm going to be leaving the long barrow now. Thank you so much for watching, and until the next time, goodbye.